Looking to paint but not willing to spend a ton of money? Well, that's what today's video is all about. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I'm James from The Paint People. Today we're tackling a common home improvement challenge, painting on a budget. Who says you need to break the bank to transform your space, right? Obviously, there are some considerable expenses when it comes to painting, especially if you're getting it done professionally. But if you are willing to tackle it on your own, I think you can save some cash. So let's explore some little hacks and affordable paint alternatives to help you achieve a beautiful and budget-friendly paint job. That's what today's about. Number one, sample swatch savings. Test before you invest. Before committing to a gallon of paint, grab some free paint swatches from your local hardware store. Test them on a small area of your wall to see how the colors look in your space and under different lighting conditions. This is a huge point that I try and reinforce all the time. You really will save yourself a ton of money if you don't need to repaint colors that you don't like. And by testing them first, getting those little swatches, bringing them home, there's no commitment, right? They're free usually. They're just given out by the paint stores. You can see how they look in your home to give you a much better idea of whether it's gonna work for you. That's my number one tip. Secondly, comes to the materials you use. Instead of investing in professional grade canvas drop cloths, DIY them. If you have any old sheets or blankets, reuse them. You can repurpose those old sheets, or, I wouldn't recommend newspapers because that could be a bit of a tripping hazard, but you get the idea. Probably have old towels or cloths or anything that you can use that can help catch any potential drips and spills where you don't need to go and invest a ton of money in professional equipment that maybe you won't even use after this one project. So yes, blankets, sheets, DIY drop cloths. Big fan. My third tip is wash up. Clean yourself. But most importantly, clean your tools. Clean your roller cage. A clean roller cage ensures smooth application, prevents streaks. It means you're just gonna have a better process. I would always wash the roller cage with warm soapy water after each use, and especially reusing and washing roller sleeves. If you invest a little bit more on a good roller sleeve that can be rewashed and reused, assuming it's still in good condition, you can totally use it for a number of different projects just by cleaning it thoroughly. Those sleeves can add up if you keep rebuying them every time you open up a new can of paint. And then of course, clean your brushes thoroughly as well. And I prefer to do it with cooler or room temperature water rather than really hot water, because I feel like the bristles, they don't really take well to really hot, piping hot water. And if you are using a paintbrush and you're doing your cutting in and all that, try and prevent the paint from saturating all the way to the ends of the bristle where it's starting to go into the metal, because that can deteriorate your brush a little bit more. Try and keep, as best as you can, a little gap of dry bristle, or at least not saturated with paint bristle. And this doesn't just go for the end of the project. I would even consider cleaning your brushes throughout the project to preserve them, to prevent, that oversaturation and that deterioration. Starting a paint project, you don't need to go to a paint store. Just go to thepaintpeople.com, our shop for all things painting and decorating. Whether you need some supplies or a couple gallons of paint, thepaintpeople.com offers fast shipping and great service to get you started with your painting project pronto. Number 4, affordable paint alternatives. The first one I could recommend is going to be obviously your lower grade paint. At least your contractor grade paint. This is something that I have a lot of experience with using. Can be trickier to work with in some cases, but it is going to give you good value for money. And you may need to have a contractor account to get this paint, or at least get, a good price on it. It is something that is worth considering. It's going to be a more affordable paint altogether. Just be mindful that with those lower grade paints, coverage can sometimes be a concern, and also durability sometimes. Higher end paints tend to last a bit longer, generally speaking, across the board. But if you are looking to save money, you can go with those lower line paints rather than going straight to the top of the line. And I'm also a bit of a brand fanboy. And I find, for me at least, it's better to go with a reputable brand's more budget line compared to a cheap brand's or a non-reputable paint brand's kind of middle line. That's just me though. Number 5, the main feature. This is a fun one. What if there was a way to remove 3/4 of your paint costs and still have a nice little transformation in your home? Accent walls. Instead of painting 4 walls, you can paint 1. Maybe you don't need to repaint the entire room. Maybe you have a nice neutral color that works. But by painting 1 wall panel, a single accent wall with 1/4 of the paint, you can really transform the space in a nice, interesting way with way less effort and way less cost. And the best part is, if you do decide to repaint in a couple years, you can just choose to repaint that 1 wall again and have a very, very different look. Whether you want to go much darker, more saturated, or lighter, whatever the case may be, consider an accent wall. Literally eliminate 3/4 of the work. Number 6, save on tape. Now, I understand a lot of you watching are more beginners when it comes to painting, more of the DIY crowd, a big money saver is just getting good. Get good at painting. Easier said than done. But honestly, I encourage you, practice. Check out the countless number of tutorials on YouTube on painting techniques. Practice, practice, practice so you don't need to rely on tape. And honestly, whenever I'm working with newer painters that are learning to cut in with a brush, oftentimes they'll be pretty good at getting a straight line fairly quickly. The real skill is getting a straight line and also working at pace. But if you're doing it on your own and you're taking the time to be really careful with everything, I truly believe you don't need to rely on the tape because then it just establishes bad habits. If you have the patience to really give it a go, you will naturally save lots and lots of money. Because ultimately, painting your home, it doesn't need to be as expensive as you think. By using these creative hacks and affordable alternatives, you can achieve a beautiful and budget-friendly paint job. If you have any questions for me about any of these tips or anything else you want to talk about, let me know down below. And also press that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that bell notification to stay tuned with our videos and our live streams every single week. Take care.